Hey guys, Rudy here. I wanted to talk about what I'm about to show here on the screen, which is um, I guess like a business card kind of thing that I find throughout the store when I work. And I've been finding them ever since began working here. So the past 11 years or so. I don't know who sets, they'll just take them, they'll take these cards and leave them on the shelf. And I find them all the time because, I'm straight in the store. So I tend to run into them. I don't know who's doing it, but it doesn't matter, really. Because either way, to me, it's cowardly in a big way. And this person's a Christian, obviously, for they're quoting the Bible. There's a backside to it. I didn't take a picture of the backside. It's just a bunch of Bible quotes that are out of context, so it has no substance, no meaning in that sense. Well, not in that sense. It literally has no substance, nor has meaning. You're just quoting the Bible, like a dumb preacher, right? And they think they're doing something. But to me, it's very cowardly behavior, because they're not willing to have a discussion with people, someone like me or someone like you or a total stranger. Instead, they're the crazy moralists who will take these cards and just leave in places thinking they're doing something. And that's the issue I have with most Christians, because to me, they're just moralists. They're not anything special in that regard. They're hypocrites. But anybody who's listening to this, you know that already. And that's my main problem with secular Christianity, and that's what I've started calling it. I do consider myself a Christian, and it's like at first I started calling myself unorthodox Christian, because Orthodox Christianity tends to go, you go to church, you read the Bible, yada yada, and I don't do those things. And it's like I kind of got away from that. I don't like the word Orthodox or unorthodox, and I started thinking, well, these Christians that are supposedly religious and spiritual and believing in Jesus, believing in God, supposedly, but they seem to be the ones that are more tied to the physical world more than anybody, because they're attached to the church, they attach themselves to the Bible and all that. And the Catholics are even worse, because they worship statues, basically, of like Virgin Mary and Virgin de Guadalupe and stuff like that. And maybe I'll put a picture up of Guadalupe if you never heard of Guadalupe. But figures like that, historical figures, and they worship the cross, and they worship everything but God, and that's material worship. Those are secular Christians. I came to realize this. Well, that makes me a non-secular Christian, because I don't worship these idols. I don't worship these physical things, thinking that it's going to get me into heaven. I don't have any strong opinions about heaven either way. I don't really care, to be honest. And it's so funny, because every time I look at one of these cards, I think about, I'm going to go and read it. And it says, chart your course. God created us with a will and the ability to make choices. And from Joshua 24:15, the Bible, obviously. Choose you this day whom you will serve. And y'all know how I feel about Bible quotes especially Bible quotes that are out of context. Because you can quote the Bible if you got an anecdotal story to tell along with it, or even, a secondhand story that someone that told you a story and you can relate it to the Bible in some way. That's fine. To me, quoting the Bible like that is fine to me, but the way this card presents it is not fine to me. But it doesn't matter what I think, right? They're going to keep doing what they do. They're the crazy secular moralist Christian. They come into the store with a handful of these cards and they just put them everywhere. And they're done for the day, right? They did their good deed. They can pat themselves on the back. Maybe they'll go into their prayer closet later and ask God for forgiveness or whatever they think they're doing. But I'm almost grateful for whoever this is. And maybe that's the point, right? Maybe I'm missing the point in that regard, where I'm getting the point in that regard is that it gets me thinking about free will, because right here it says God created us with a will and the ability to make choices, and I do believe that in a sense, but not in the way the typical Christian would, because me personally, the way I would word it is that we don't have free will, because we're controlled by spirits that we're not aware of. The trauma. Harris Point Project referred to it as our trauma-bound past, or something to that effect. I'm paraphrasing. I'm sure I'm butchering it, but We have our trauma-bound spirit, our trauma-bound nature. It's like we're possessed, in a way. We don't know what we're doing. And it's not until we get over that trauma is when our eyes open. And our eyes are closed until then. And in that sense, and I've said it before, but every human being is going through this. Every human being on earth is trauma-bound. And they're controlled by spirits that they're unaware of. It could be the spirit of their mother, the spirit of whoever traumatized them, whoever they were angry at for the very first time. And I went through it, and that's why I'm talking about it. I can talk about it easily. I can talk about it for days without getting tired of it, because it's so interesting to me. And when I talk to people, I see these same, I guess patterns is the right word, but I see these ripples, like the same ripples that everyone has from the initial trauma. And it's just rippling throughout their life. And the lady I work with, Karina, she put it another way, where it's like people walk around, and you have to peel people walk around like onions, and you have to peel away the skin, like one flake at a time, one onion skin at a time, only to realize there's no center. And that's everybody on the planet. They're all like onions. And I thought that was a really good way to say it, because once you peel back all the trauma, you realize that you're nothing. You realize you disappear. I did a previous audio recording where I talked about you need to disappear in order to find God, and really you don't disappear, because you just realize you were nothing to begin with, and you come to peace with that. And I know I have, but I didn't disappear, right? I'm still here. I'm still myself. I still got my history. I have the memories of the trauma, but the trauma doesn't affect me anymore. But I had to disappear first in order to figure that out. These thick layers of onion skin had to be peeled back one by one. And when you get to the center, you realize there's nothing. There's nothing left. You're nothing. And it's a relief. Like it's a weight off my shoulders. And that's what happened when I forgave my mother. It was like a weight off my shoulders. It's like I realized I was nothing, and I disappeared. As soon as that thick onion layer was gone, it's like I reunited with God. And that's when I really, really realized. And I'm still like, golly, I still experience it every day. It's like the way people act and the way they just act crazy. And the big eye opener to me was during the big CV 2020 thing. Y'all know what I'm talking about. When the circus came into my store and started buying all the toilet paper, for some reason, all because the big head on the television told them to. And it was like they were possessed by demons. It was like, and that's what really opened my eyes, and that's what really made me realize that there is no free will at all. Nobody has free will. And it's like, and about this Bible quote, like, what do you do with this Bible quote then? What do they mean by this? God created us with a will, and I do believe that, with the ability to make choices, but it's an illusion of choice. And I think the first person I ever heard say something like that was Sam Harris. And I don't like Sam Harris. I think he's a douchebag. He basically, I'm not going to talk about Sam Harris too much, but what I think about Sam Harris, I get the impression that from the way he talks and the way he acts, he feels like he should be the authority on the Bible and not anybody else. Like if it were up to him, he would rewrite the Bible, Sam Harris edition, and it would be, that's what goes on the shelves, that's what stays on the shelves for everybody, for all the Christians. He thinks he's better than everyone else in that regard. But he's the first guy I ever heard say there's no free will. And it's not like I just dismissed him. I got a free will. It's like I'm always going to ponder these kind of weird things that people say. And he's not the first to say it, right? So he's not special in that regard, but he's the most popular one. He's the fractal approved, reality approved asshole that says there's no free will. And I'm okay with that. I really don't care. But he's an atheist. And this is the funny thing about it. The whole reason I'm making this audio recording is because he's an atheist and he's saying we don't have free will, which we don't. But I'm a Christian and I'm saying we don't have free will. And here's the problem. Here's the big, here's the elephant in the room, is that most Christians believe that we have free will. The secular Christians, oh, they believe it in their hearts that we have free will, and everything we do and everything we say is because we made a choice without realizing it's not us, it's not them, it's the spirit within them that's controlling them. That initial trauma is controlling them, controlling all their actions, all their motivations, is because of that big trauma. And that's what the stereotypical secular Christian thinks. We all have a free will. And from what I started realizing, listening to all kinds of interviews, not just Sam Harris, other dudes too, is that it's the atheists that believe we don't have free will. But they say it in another way. They say that we're pre-programmed, and they'll use science and other crap like that to prove that we don't have free will and that we're pre-programmed. They think we're pre-programmed monkeys, basically. But I'm not saying that at all. And I've already explained my case in that regard, but it's the opposite. It's like the metaphor of the upside down cross. Like the world is upside down. What we've been told is true, and what we've been told is true is actually false, and what we've been told is false is actually true. Like the dumb little Christians being told that they have free will, it's upside down. It's actually the opposite. We do not have free will because of our trauma-bound experiences. And the atheists are the ones that are right. Because to me, atheism is not the devil. It's because I was an atheist. I was a terrible atheist for about 35 years, 34 years, and I got over it. The thing is, the atheists are questioning, which is what you're supposed to do. Even as a Christian, you're supposed to question the Bible. You're supposed to talk with your pastor and have a discussion. You're supposed to talk with your family about these things, but it's been inversed. Everything in this world is upside down. What's good is bad, and what's bad is good. There's more than two genders now. Again, upside down cross. And this is what blows my mind. It's like you can look at anything and realize what we've been taught is inversed in some way, or corrupted, or polluted. What have we been told about racism? White people bad. It's like the stuff like that. What have we been told by our mothers, that our fathers are no good? When it's usually the opposite. It's usually the inverse, or it's the mothers that seem to be traumatizing everyone. And it's the fathers that have always been the ones that are the stillness, that are the rock of the family. And we've been led to believe it was our mothers that were supposed to be the rock. And then they pretend to be the rock, and then they can't handle it. They snap because women aren't built that way. I don't know how many females are in my audience, but it's like y'all, like women are not built to take that kind of anxiety and that kind of pressure. They're too emotional. That's just the bottom line. All right, I had to pause it for a second. I had to pump some gas, but get back on topic a little bit because I think I veered off the path for a second about free will, which was my main point. And you really have to ask yourself about, if you think you have free will, I want you to ask yourself, if you had free will, would you be doing the things that you do? And all of y'all, every single one of you, know exactly what I'm talking about. There ain't a person here who had done something crazy in their life. And was that free will? No, of course not. I'm telling you right now, it wasn't free will. It was a possession. You were possessed by a spirit, an idea, an ideology, and it can come from anywhere. It comes from our upbringing, our education, our teachers, our college professors. We're controlled by ideology. We're controlled by ideas. That's not free will. Not in the slightest. And here's the thing. Even when you do wake up, when you do realize these things, and you're less controlled by them, because that's the best we got, is to work on being less controlled by it. And it's not even you. You can't change yourself. You have to let God do it. You have to give up. You have to go. You don't have to go, but I suggest taking it to God directly. You don't have to go to a preacher man. All you have to do is, God, please, like, you don't have to beg, but God, let me see myself. Why am I so angry? Why am I so traumatized? Why am I so, upset? Why am I anxious? And you'll find the answers, man. Like, you sit in your prayer closet for 5 minutes in the dark, and with your eyes closed, you start asking these questions, and it's like they're gonna come to you in an instant. It'll happen. I guarantee it, man, because it's gonna happen. It's like, why am I a chronic masturbator? Whatever. Why am I addicted to porn? You can trace it back. Like, these memories are gonna flood back, man. It's happened to me. And I realized, wow, like, I've been angry at my mother all my life, and that wasn't right. Like, that, God does not want you to be angry. God is not angry. Jesus wasn't angry. You hear the dumb story about Jesus flipping tables. What were they, the money exchangers or something like that. Some dumb story where he's flipping tables, the coin changers or something. It doesn't matter. The details don't matter. It's these dumb stories that get passed along where, from the outside looking in, it looks like Jesus had anger, but we don't know what Jesus was thinking. We don't know what he was feeling. All we can do is say, oh, he's flipping tables, he must be angry. So I'm going to write that down. Oh, Jesus was angry. Not even that. It doesn't say anything about anger in the Bible. It's these dumb preachers that repeat these Bible verses, and then they interpret it themselves. And I'm aware that I'm doing that as well, but we don't know exactly what was going on in his mind. And people use that as an excuse, especially Christians, secular Christians. They're like, well, Jesus was angry, so I had every right to be angry, and I'm going to use my righteous anger. You hear that stupid buzzword all the time. Righteous anger. Like, the dumbest shit I've ever heard is righteous anger, because anger is hatred, no matter how you slice it. I really don't care who you are. You could be the preacher man yelling at a pedophile. And you say, oh, it was righteous. Look, the padre has righteous anger. Like, no, he's an asshole. Like, he has no right to be angry. It's ridiculous. And I know this sounds crazy, especially when we're talking about children that are suffering. Like, I have empathy, okay? Like, it's horrible, but we need to work on, me personally, I'm working on, and I can't really do it myself. I haven't been angry in a long time. Not a long time. Maybe a month or two. But, because it's going to happen. Like, once you wake up, once you forgiveness is the biggest thing. You're going to have moments where you get anxious or you lose yourself. And it's happened to me before. It happened to me, about 2 months ago. Like, I was at work. It was like 3 a.m., 4 a.m. And there's this thing that goes on around 3 a.m., around 4 a.m., where my mind goes crazy. Not like I'm wanting to jump off the roof, but it's like the voice in my head will not stop. And it's like one day I had to just sit down. I had to go find a quiet room and sit down and just do a silent prayer, because I couldn't do anything. The voice wouldn't be quiet. And I did that for like 5 minutes. I just sat there and what I would call just what anyone else would think was as prayer. And I was just sitting still and letting it pass. And it went away. And I was like completely at peace afterwards. But those 5 minutes felt like hell. But it was that prayer, it was a silent prayer that helped me. That's what I mean by going in your prayer closet and still. That's a silent prayer. Maybe I'll go over that one day, but I don't have time right now. And another time, around the same time actually. When I say time, I mean like 3 a.m. Where it started up again, like a week or two later, it started up again, and I literally just said, be quiet, I'm tired of hearing it. I said that out loud, and it stopped. And that was about 2 weeks ago, and it hasn't started again. Thank goodness. But it'll start again, believe me. It's going to start this bullshit again. Anyway, I'm home, guys. Thank you so much for your time. Bye-bye.
Into captivity, you began to really see the truth. For an example, last weekend or maybe the weekend before, I got up out of bed on a Saturday morning, just kind of casually getting up, and I sat on my bed there and kind of looked around in my room, Wasn't trying to be spiritual or anything. And all of a sudden it dawned on me that, wow, everything is so fake. Nothing is real. And I had a flash of the people I've counseled with over the years and have dealt with. And I realized, wow, all those fights and all those breakups and all those coming together, all those biting and all those those who are angry, it all seemed so shallow. It just seemed like it was nothing. I wasn't thinking that way. I didn't wake up all spiritual. I was just waking up. And it just dawned on me that everything is so fake in the world. And people fight and kill and run and hide and do all this stuff for no reason. It's an illusion. And I had a sadness that came upon me that the only other time I felt that type of sadness that I can remember was when God allowed me to see that I resented my father and mother. And that resentment had kept me from him, from living a life. And it was wrong for me to resent them. And when I saw that, a sadness came up on me that wasn't a human sadness. It was a different kind of a sadness that truly caused me to forgive. Because there's a human sadness come, that don't mean nothing. You can have that human sadness every other minute or so. But there's another sadness that comes when it is revealed to you that you're wrong. There's a sadness that comes that causes you to repent. I can't even describe it because it doesn't happen that often. This is the second time that I remember this happening. I just felt this certain sadness for the illusion of the world and the impact it has on so many people. And all of a sudden, I was just free from everything. It looked like nothing seemed to matter anymore. There's not anything of this world that is so important to me that I gotta have it, that I'm willing to lose salvation for. Because it's like nothing. It really is nothing. It's here today and gone tomorrow. Think about the number of people who've been in your life who are here today and gone tomorrow over the years, whether family members, relationships, co-workers. Just think about all the things that have come and gone in your life, automobiles and money, and it's all temporary, but it's so important to the blind, the people who have not brought every thought into captivity. They can't find peace.
And so I'm rather stuck. I find out the reason that I think I believe, say, in God, is that I sure hope that somehow God will rescue me. In other words, I want to hang on to my own existence. And I feel rather shaky about doing that for myself, but I just hope there's a God who'll take care of it. Or if I could be loving, I would have a better opinion of myself. I'd feel better about it. I could face myself, as people say, if I were more loving. So the unloving me, somehow, by some gimmickry, has to turn itself into a loving me, and this is just like trying to lift yourself off the ground with your own bootstraps. It can't be done. And that's why religion, in practice, mainly produces hypocrisy and guilt, because of the constant failure of these enterprises. Now, people go and study Zen, and they come back and say, wow, getting rid of your ego is a superhuman task. I assure you it's going to be very, very difficult to get rid of your ego. You're going to have to sit for a long time, and you're going to get the sorest legs. It's hard work. And all you wretched kids who think you're getting rid of your ego on pot or something or other and easy yoga, you don't know what you're in for when it really comes down to the nitty-gritty. Well, you know, the biggest ego trip going is getting rid of your ego. And the joke of it all is your ego doesn't exist. There's nothing to get rid of. It's an illusion, as I tried to explain. But you still want to ask how to stop the illusion. Now, who's asking? I mean, do you think, in the ordinary sense in which you use the word I, how can I stop identifying myself with the wrong me? Well, the answer is simply you can't. Now, the Christians put this in their way when they say that mystical experience is a gift of divine grace. Man, as such, cannot achieve this experience. It is a gift of God, and if God doesn't give it to you, there's no way of getting it. Now, that is solidly true. You can't do anything about it because you don't exist.